Panthers Nation, what the heck is going on? My gosh, we finally, let's get everything adjusted here, saw some winning football. And folks, I just recorded the latest podcast episode, probably 30 minutes worth of content. So I don't know how long that I'm going to stay on here tonight, but we'll stay on here for a little bit and talk Panthers. I also know as I just look around at the landscape of YouTube, X, whatever, there are tons of other shows running right now. So if you are tuned into this show or if you're coming back to watch this show, at any point, I appreciate it, folks. Got to start out right out of the gate and just say, holy freaking whatever word you want to input there. What a performance by the entire team, man. We can talk about the team. We got to talk about Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton, I don't know if this is a one-hit wonder. I honestly don't care if it is or if it isn't. Andy Dalton proved to everyone in the world that's paying attention to the Carolina Panthers that this was not a Bryce Young thing. Like this, or it was a Bryce Young thing, I should say. I don't know, and I just talked about it, so I don't want to go into too much detail because I'll have an episode coming out, but I don't know how Bryce Young survives this. And you can kumbaya all that you want to. I think the only way that he's going to be around here is if we don't get something that's worth being traded for, or if the front office feels like he is more valuable to be here in case Andy Dalton gets hurt. And it's weird that we are in this position. That was a completely different team. Yeah, dude. I'm catching up on the chat here. Sorry. So Underground West, what's good, man? Keep pounding. He said complete team win. Glad you guys got some closure. Dalton played well against Seahawks last year. Yeah, he did. That's the thing. And oh god, dude, sorry, y'all. I have the banners on here. We're already up. So sorry about that. That's the thing. We're almost a year to date from Andy Dalton playing his last NFL game. This man sat out a year. He sat out an entire year, and Bryce Young, and like folks, yes, he's a veteran, but Bryce Young's getting all the reps at practice, all the snaps with the ones. He's been there last year, now all into this year. Like I even said it, like in my mind, and this is not saying that Andy Dalton would take off reps. But when I think about Andy Dalton in this position, knowing that he knew he was coming here to be a backup, it's almost like I feel like he might have checked out a little bit, and not saying that that's the type of person that he is. I'm saying if I was in his shoes and I knew my only role was to be a backup, like sure, we can all talk about how, got to be ready, got to be prepared. But for me, I'm like, it feels a little bit different. So it was impressive, man. And I don't think there's a single fan that can honestly look you in the face and tell you they expected that performance, because that performance was ridiculous. I mean, he's the first quarterback in this season with over 300 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. But it was dominant, and I think he was the spark that the team needed. I mean, we saw Deontay Johnson, someone that we thought like, hey, this guy's going to make an impact for this team. His ability to separate, his ability to run with the ball, we had not seen that. We had not seen anything with Bryce Young running the show, unfortunately. I don't know if sitting, like, and I just said this to him when I recorded, like, I don't know what sitting is going to do for him. Like, it just feels like the game's too big for him, and that's not trying to be mean as his stature. I think the game is just too much. It's too fast. And I'm sure there's going to be a team and a coach and whoever that thinks that they can fix it. But I think Dave Canales alone, it's like he had a hypothesis that he wanted to test. I want to see if my offense can function with a veteran 30-plus-year-old quarterback who has only played one game in the last year. And before that was a nomad travel quarterback bouncing around from the Saints, the Cowboys, the Bears. Like, he wasn't a true bona fide quarterback at all at this point as Andy left the Cincinnati Bengals. He's like, I'm going to plug him in and I'm going to see if this is a me thing or if it's a quarterback thing, to see how much better Andy Dalton played than Bryce Young was probably the most shocking. I think as a veteran, when we saw him out there, it was the precision. You heard Dave Canales all offseason talking about 2.7 seconds. 2.7 seconds was in Andy's mind. He found the read. He got the ball out. In certain situations when he needed to slow it down a little bit, the first touchdown pass to Chuba Hubbard, he did it, but he looked relaxed. He looked so relaxed. He took shots downfield. There were so many plays, and we go back and look at Bryce's film, and I've been watching it. I'll plug in the channel if you want to go back and watch some of the content. We're still going to keep the content going. We've been breaking down the film, and we've seen the situations where it's like Bryce just doesn't want to make that throw. The throw and the read is there, but it's like, is his arm not strong enough? Can he not get the ball out? But the analogy that I like to break this thing down into is like, I was a baseball player, and I know we're talking football, but if you've played any baseball in your life, or maybe you're not, up until high school, like I could hit an 80-mile-an-hour pitcher pretty handedly. Like, played varsity baseball, so I could do that. When you start talking about hitting 90, 95, or hitting a 12-6 breaking curve ball, very much better pitcher, I just didn't have it. Like, there was no way, no matter how much I trained, I just would never be able to figure that part out, like, at all. Like, sure, maybe once in a blue moon I can make contact. To me, that's what this feels like. It's like, no matter how hard Bryce works, I don't know that he's going to find it. And I know Panthers fans are probably like, oh my gosh, our investment is gone. He's out the door. Like, I want to see him stay. It's hard for me to sit here and think that Dave Canales is going to want to sit here for another 14 weeks, whatever it is, 14 games now, and hear questions about Bryce Young. Because that's like, think about, and I know NFL's different, but when you think about most NFL teams, you're asking about the starting quarterback, not the scout team quarterback that is the backup on the team. And when I watched Andy play, I'd love to be wrong on all this. And Bryce Young sits out and he learns and he grows, whatever it is. But even the basic plays, like someone tweeted, and it might have been Darren Gett, actually, Panthers.com, because he likes to be kind of a little snarky on some of his posts, and like he works for the team, so I don't blame him. But he tweeted out something about one of the balls being batted down by Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton had one or two batted down. But I was like, the difference in an Andy batted ball and a Bryce Young batted ball is that Andy Dalton was on his flat 2 feet. He was not Bryce Young up there jumping around like this is basketball to get the ball out over a defender or on his tippy toes. And I think that's the difference. And this is going to sound bad. It's going to sound like that I'm out here just trying to bash Bryce Young all night. And it's not the case. But as a fan of football and a fan of the Carolina Panthers that just wants to see a winning product on the field, that's something that we got tonight. And it's something that we haven't had. We've not had this since Steve Wilkes, like the Steve Wilkes last little run of whatever 6-6 that he went and he should have stayed around. We haven't felt that. We can go back and look at last year. When the Panthers got their first win last year, it was against the Texans, and we were already what, 0-5, 0-6? I don't know what it was. We were bad. It was not like the 4-3 Texans and the 0-6 Panthers are competing and going in the same directions last year. Oh, wow, we pulled off an upset. Good for us. You don't win a game until you go back, have the Atlanta Falcons, and then you can play competitively against the Green Bay Packers. That's it. And that's the other thing that I just cannot get over is how parts of the fan base just latch on to performances, and primarily a performance in a game that was lost. But it was complimentary football, and it's It was balanced on the rushing attack, over 100 yards rushing with Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders getting his touchdown, which, hey, I'll take it, and spreading the ball around. I loved seeing Xavier get the ball, man. What he did in space, he had the longest offensive play. He was actually tied with Deontay Johnson, 35 yards, both 35 yards. Panthers had over, I think, 6 plays over 20 or more yards. Third down efficiency. We go from getting 2 first downs to converting 2 third downs to first downs in the first 2 games to getting close to a little over 40% coming out of this game, holding it on the defensive side of the ball to like 20-some percent, getting 2 stops on 4th downs. I mean, it was just lights out. The ball finally fell our way, and this type of thing is contagious. I mean, when you have a team that believes, and I'm not saying, and I just, like I said, I recorded, and I don't believe for a fact that like we're going to turn this thing on now and go win a bunch of games, but it does get a little bit easier when you look at the schedule now. Bengals, cat's out of the bag on them. I don't know if we're going to do the same thing and have a chance. I'd love to, but even if the Panthers drop to 1-3, you then, and I just had the schedule up, so I'm gonna get it wrong, but you're talking about rookie quarterbacks with the Bears, Washington, and Denver, and I think you throw in Atlanta in that mix too. There's a really good chance, we should beat rookie quarterbacks, especially those group of rookie quarterbacks. Although I know Tampa Bay got beat by Denver today, so maybe I'll have to wait and see how that one actually looked. Some bounces likely didn't go the way of the Tampa Bay in that one. I think they made some mistakes from some of the guys I followed that I could see on there. But anyways, man, it felt good. And time of possession, I think it was about 12 minutes in our favor. Field position, the turnover battle. And here's the thing. I'm not going to say Andy Dalton played perfect, but I listened to the Panthers post-game radio show, and that was the emphasis. It's not about playing perfect. It's just playing good football and executing, believing in the scheme and what's been set up. And I don't know, like I said, if Andy Dalton's going to go out here and do this again. I think this is more of an outlier of Andy. Like I'm not going to be unrealistic and say that Andy's going to go out here and light this thing up every week. They're going to run for 100 yards. There's a lot of positives that we haven't seen. Even getting the 3 sacks, the pressure up the middle, because that's something we haven't seen. And being able to do that with the interior with some of the guys out, that's going to help you out in the long run. And we have all this stuff happening. And then hopefully on the back burner of like what's kind of sizzling is you do get a DJ Wonham back. Hopefully by game 4 or game 5. I don't know if it's going to be game 4. We really haven't gotten a status update. And a Jonathan Brooks. You talk about a punch of Brooks, which I know roster composition is going to change a little bit then. But talking about getting Jonathan Brooks involved in the lineup, easing him back into this thing. Hopefully, Adam Thielen's injury is not significant. I know he missed the second half. I think he's a critical piece, as we saw. But it was wild, man. I'm like, wait, this team knows how to throw the ball down the field? Like, are you freaking kidding me? What the heck is happening? Anyways, let me catch up on the chat because this thing is blowing up on here. So I want to make sure I get good on this. Underground West, Dalton was on fire. Yes, he was. Yeah, she says it's confusing to me for teams to be looking for the next Mahomes and don't redshirt the rookie. Bryce it up to Fell a little bit. Love Dalton. Yeah, last year by far, like complete failure. So I don't think there's ever going to be anything like trade-wise. We're always going to be on the losing end of this trade because we're never going to get, and I said this last year and people like lost their minds, you're never going to get back what you gave up for Bryce Young ever. And that's like even saying if he was at a Mahomes level right now, like if he had peaked and won a bunch of Super Bowls at somewhere down the line, I don't know if you're ever going to get the same return. So I've always said the Panthers are never going to win this trade, but he was set up for failure. And I think, again, we could harp on this all day long to talk about last year. But I think the difference as you kind of compare and contrast last year to this year is we knew they invested in the offensive line. We knew they got playmakers for Bryce Young this year, and we just didn't see the progress that he made. And then you see Andy Dalton go out there and just freaking light it up, which was ridiculous. I don't know, man. Dalton looked like last year politics keep Dalton on the bench or kept him. Yeah. Yeah. If you're looking back, I mean, no doubt that definitely kept him out there or kept him on the bench. I fully agree with that. I mean, it's hard to, I mean, if you go back in time, I think best case scenario, it would have been to sit Bryce. I mean, the model works. Like we've seen it with Green Bay, we've seen it with other teams. And it could just be a year. Like that's the thing. Like you've seen quarterbacks who sit maybe multiple years, but also quarterbacks that just sit the 1 year, get up to speed on the NFL game, then go out there. I mean, it's the most important position in the NFL, and we're just throwing them out there. And I mean, that's not even talking about the turmoil of what was happening in the building and all those things around your rookie. I mean, mentally it had to have a big impact on Bryce. And like he's a good, very good player. And I don't know if it's going to click. Hopefully it will click at some point. Once you send a guy out there, he gets bad habits. Yep. Need to redshirt season to iron it out, or the bad habits stay. I agree. And I think that's a good analogy of kind of where it is, at least what some folks are saying, that this is where it's so split, man. And you're going to keep hearing it. And everybody just wants to be right. Like the people that say he's going to be traded or will be traded, they want to be right, which I mean, I don't blame them. You want to have whatever sports take, you want to be the one that gets it right, I guess. And then the people who say he is here, I'm just interested to see his demeanor, man, because he looks shot. Like I know he's never going to come out and say it, but he's just never gone through something like this. And I think it's one thing to come in with a plan that this is how this is going to happen. It's another thing to have the rug ripped out from under you. And I know like there's a lot of reports that he was shocked and blindsided, pissed, whatever it is, which I would be too. So you never know how that is going to like trickle down into him potentially trying to force his way out from there. David said he is too small and running scared. I can't disagree with that just based off of what we've seen. There's no doubt that he is scared back there. And I mean, it's like he sees things that aren't there, not to make a knock on Sam Darnold and see a ghost, but you kind of wonder. And the too small thing, like that's the other thing is like you put him in positions to be successful and he's not even able to take advantage of those. Like the throws that he missed. And I hate that we're having a, like the Panthers win and this is a team win, but this is the other thing. Like I'm going to still be talking about this thing too, or other people will, until it's like, it settles, till the dust settles. And we really know the future of Bryce Young. Kudos to the Panthers for making the right choice. Also, this is one of the better receiving squads Dalton has had. Yeah, it is. Hopefully, like we said, or like I said, Andy, Adam Thielen can get healthy. I'm waiting to see. I know it was reported that he was hurt. Damian Lewis also suffered an injury, and I believe Fuller, and there was one other that came up at the end of the game. So those, yeah, I mean, Andy was slinging that ball today, man. And like I said, it's also, I think part of the reason he was successful, and somebody, I don't know, there's so many good thoughts out there. Someone said, well, you really don't have tape. You have tape on Andy, you have tape on Bryce Young and this offense for 2 games, and Dave Canales from last year, but you haven't seen Andy Dalton in this offense. And so I do think teams are going to adjust, and I don't think this run's going to go like, I think hopefully we'll still be competitive. But I don't know that he's going out there throwing again for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions and lighting the world on fire as we move forward. Definitely levels. Behind the scenes, they said Dalton has looked so much better than Bryce. I would believe that. Andy was dropping dimes, made it look easy. Sure did. Also, the Seahawks, man. Seahawks undefeated, by the way. Remember, guys, like Dalton, Brady played during the too high safety era. Defenses aren't anything new. I agree. People unable to combat the too high safeties. Hmm. Yeah, something else going on with the team. I agree. I mean, how does the whole team? I mean, they looked re-energized. It's like we just have not seen that type of football. We've had Bryce here 18 games where he has played as the starter. And that was the thing that I don't think I got to tweet it, but Bryce is a quiet leader. I don't know why I threw quotations. Like he's quiet. That's who he is. I don't know that, and I'm not saying he has to yell all the time, but I don't know, being as small as he is, if he can be quiet. Like you've got to be vocal at this stage in the NFL, and like I don't know, man. It was definitely something different. Whole demeanor of the team. Yeah, hard to know what's going on. Yeah. Not giving Bryce any favors tonight. Yep. I agree with this. Bryce's arm strength is the issue. This game helps expose his lack of power on basic plays. It does. And I'm not a super big film junkie. Like I watched Bryce play last year, but I didn't really go behind the scenes, and I would watch what others post. But now that I'm going back this year and watching more and posting, like I said, there was one play this last game, and I don't even know if I shared it in what I put out there. It was like a third down play. And the thing that I like today about Andy Dalton is him on third down getting to the sticks with the ball. And I don't know if it's because he wasn't afraid. I don't know if it's a power thing, but there were multiple times watching Bryce Young's tape where a guy is open at the sticks or beyond on a third down play, and he's just checking it down. And so I do think, and I mean, it was like 25 yards ish. The play itself wouldn't have been 25 yards, but from where he was in the pocket to where the receiver was, and we're talking like a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, and like I don't like, can he not make that throw? So yeah. Red Rifle strikes again, bullseye. He had a bunch of Andy Dalton chants too coming out of the locker room or going into the locker room. And then I don't know if y'all like follow WFNZ out of Charlotte. Kyle Bailey, the Kyle Bailey Club was there, and he posted a video of the players going into the locker room, and I think Xavier had some choice words. I'll just tell you to go back and look at it. To the media. It was pretty funny. The fact Chuba got 100 tells you the O-line play isn't actually that bad. Oh, I know, man. I think with Bryce, man, teams just could stack the box. One, you stack the box and or either show that you're bringing pressure and then don't do it, or you actually bring it. He couldn't adjust. That was the other thing, man. It's like he just didn't know what to do. Love seeing the running back pick up their blitz assignments. Yeah. Were some bad ones, like last game, Chuba Hubbard had a miss on one, but I mean, overall, like winning will cover up a lot of stuff. At least in the short term, for sure. Bryce doesn't have the ability to lead the troops, not physically or mentally. No one is running through a wall for him. Has potential. Hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I agree, man. It's a tough time for him to. I just don't know where you go. Like, to me, I said I would not be surprised if the Panthers really are done. You got to strike while the iron's hot. You got to get him out of here now. Like next week, make a trade with the Miami Dolphins. Tua is out. They brought over, who was it? The Baltimore backup off the practice squad. McDaniels should feel that. I mean, Tua's future in general is shaky. Bring on Bryce Young, see what you can do with him, and hope that you can develop him and maybe cater your offense to him. But you got to strike now. I don't know that the Panthers even trot Bryce out there at all again this year. And I know everybody's like talking about development. I think the stock price of him, like it's as high as it gets. Like this is it. You peaked. You may get a fifth. You may get a sixth. You may get a fourth. But I think putting him back out there is just going to remind folks like, oh, this guy really is not as good. Love to be proven wrong on all this. I really would. The other thing is like, man, y'all know if you followed me for as long as you did, I tried as long as I could to talk positively, and I did. And I tried to ignore. There were a lot of, not a lot, there was a good group of fans that said from day one, Andy Dalton was the better quarterback on the team and has been. I will never get over when we first saw Bryce at training camp, when he first came in as a rookie, he looked like a kid out there. Like that's the discrepancy. And as good as he was in college, it's just it hasn't hit here. And maybe he will find another spot that works a little bit better. When deserves a visor? I don't know where. I really have to find it. I put it up somewhere. Rock loves the visor. And he makes the players around him better. He definitely did today. And I think a lot of that getting the ball out quicker. And just that's the thing, man. He dumps it into the hands of Johnson, Xavier, Mingo, Chuba Hubbard. Put it in their hands and let them work. Like you don't have to be the superhero. Just get it in the playmaker's hands. Tommy Trimble, and let them do it. Dalton can dice those teams with the rookies. Yep, as we talk about upcoming schedule. Oh, yeah, appreciate that. Rock Jones said hit the like button. Pocket passer, man. All this talk about versatile two-way quarterbacks that can run and scramble. Andy Dalton. I mean, you saw it last year with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco coming off the bench, man. They just don't. And I think it goes back, honestly, to when you talk about teams not understanding two high safeties. I love, and I like would play it on repeat if I could, the Tom Brady video where he talks about his development and what he had to go through to be the best quarterback in the NFL, which like he never knew he was going to be that, but working his way up. But he talked about the program and having to start at the very bottom and getting 2 reps and then 4 reps and like having to stack that up, learning basic mechanics, dude. And I'm not going to pin this specifically on college, but dude, college has changed so much more with the spread offense, but with the NIL and kids bouncing around, it's just not there anymore. Sure, you may find it with some stable programs, but everyone's just trying to find the quarterback that can win now and win this season. They're not going to be focused on, I know this is NFL talk, but they're not going to be focused on, hey, let's get a kid in here that we can grow and develop and teach and go through a program and have him stay. You kind of seen it. I mean, Arch Manning may be the closest out of the college game right now. I mean, I think it said a lot for me personally with him sitting behind Quinn Ewers, knowing that he wasn't going to play. Like in my mind, this like instant gratification was like, oh, he's definitely going to transfer or want to leave or not be there and sit. And for him to sit, now, of course, he's getting his chance because Quinn's hurt. But he wasn't like planning on going anywhere. And sure, I know his NIL is probably $1 million, whatever, but still, I think in my mind says a lot about that. Yeah, Dalton getting the practice reps. Yep. Thielen is underrated. Sure is. Yeah, that's the thing. I do think as much as Miles Sanders wants to revitalize his career. I do think if Jonathan Brooks comes back and he is half as good as we think, you could see a good 1-2 punch of Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. Speaking of trade speculation, and then does that mean I don't know who's going to pick up Miles? Maybe Philly's going to have, we can talk them into coming back and picking up the leftovers. I don't know. I don't think they're stuck. I mean, there are the reports that teams are already seeking a trade or have talked and asked. I think you're not going to get anything near what you would hope. I think it's just going to have to be a front office decision. And I know some folks are like, well, Andy Dalton is a 1-year solution or maybe 2-year solution. And then we're going to be back in the same bucket. I just recorded this too, but think about the quarterbacks that have bounced around where they are and how they are in stable environments. And I mean, we could start with Baker Mayfield. We could start with Sam Darnold. I mean, those are the Carolina ones. But even a Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr gets kicked off of Vegas, goes to New Orleans. You have veteran quarterbacks that are available. Kirk Cousins from Washington to Minnesota, now to Atlanta. And I'm not even looking out at who's going to be a free agent in 2 years. But if Dave Canales is like really good with veteran quarterbacks, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, or guys that have played football for a few years, and he doesn't want to go the rookie path, I mean, like, I'm not going to be upset that we aren't drafting another rookie. The Panthers need to stay away from rookie quarterbacks, if I'm being honest. And that Andy Dalton is here next year, or Bryce is gone, whatever it is. Or I should say, if both of those guys are gone, do not draft a quarterback unless it's a late round pick that you're just going to have for competition. They need to draft players and playmakers that can better this team, because like there are barely, I mean, I know the team because I follow it. There aren't any really household names, big names market wise on this team that you just wake up and you're like, oh yeah, that's a Luke Kuechly-esque type player. Like, I know we've got our guys, we follow them, but I think that's where they need to focus. So I don't care if Andy messes up our draft stock. Like, dude, we just need to win games. Start building a culture of winning football games again. Unless the quarterback starts for like 10 years. Yeah. Derek said Bryce can't lead the troops. They aren't running through the wall. Yeah, I think it's a redshirt season as long as he's bought into it being a redshirt season. That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how your backup can come back in unless there's an injury and effectively lead. Like, I think that's the mental part of it too, is like, we've already seen you, dude. We know, like, no NFL play, like, the players aren't going to come out and say, oh my gosh, Bryce is terrible. They've seen it and they see it every day in practice. And so I don't know how happy they would be to play, oh, right, we got Bryce back there again. This is going to be fun. Oh. Have you seen Bryce walk? Yeah. That's the thing, man. I know a lot of people get into this way more than I do. I stay away from it, but I will agree that, like, his overall demeanor, his presence on the mic, his kind of antsiness, it's like there's just a lack of confidence. And it's probably compounded from everything that's happened here, but it's still not. No killer instinct. Hunter said, "You can't play that bad and be shocked." That's you. Oh, that's so good. No, you can't. I mean, like, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, which he's done. I will give him credit. He has admitted this week in the clips that we've gotten from the locker room during the practices that he put himself in this position. Like, he did take ownership, so I agree. But yeah, I agree. You can't be that shocked. You have to be special if you're small. I know you really do. And I mean, cards are stacked against him right now. Yeah, Andy's pocket collapsed a few times. He stood in there. He did. He even took one hit. He took the one hit and kind of scared me a little bit. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Andy, don't be hurt." Like we're already at that point. I'm like, I don't know that I'm ready for Bryce to come back in there. Although I did joke, we almost were up so much that Bryce could have came in garbage time. This is bad. I'm not trying to hate on him though that much. Underground West said, unfortunately for Bryce, this is a production driven league. It is. It is production driven. The media owe the Panthers an apology. All we heard was free Bryce. No one could succeed in this offense. And then this happens the first game without Bryce. Come on. I agree, man. A lot of media ripped. So the part that I'm fine with the media ripping is Tepper. And they can rip on Tepper because, like, we all know that side of things. But I agree. I think it was an unfair shake on Dave Canales, the coach, because I think a lot of people just want the quick sound bites, of, like, and everybody talks about it. Panthers were the focal point of conversations. Now that they've had a little bit, I mean, it's one game, but one game, they'll probably go back to the back burner of being small market, whatever we are, and people will move on to another topic until he gets traded, and then it'll be all the Bryce Young, if that happens again, if Bryce Young trade conversations, and all this team's going to be so much better because of Bryce and elevating that. Yeah, I appreciate y'all hanging in through the bad connection. Quarterback is a vocal position, not buying the quiet leadership. I agree. I want to hear LaShawn McCoy now. Yeah, if they move on from Bryce, so what? And someone, I don't remember who I was talking to during the game. Like we were talking about trading or releasing Bryce. I guess trading, not releasing. And what we saw with the Jets and Zach Wilson as they split the cap hit or number. So I do agree the contract is also a part of it. Like that's the other thing that makes it a little bit harder. He's only in year 2, so he's not like, year 3 or 4 with some of these other guys, the Wilsons and Mac Jones. A little bit harder to swallow that remainder, but if the Panthers find a suitor, maybe they could meet them halfway or 60-40. I think there would be a chance, but always valid to bring that up. It's true. That's the thing is like, I agree. If you try to trade him now, like he's likely going to sit. I mean, I don't know that another team is going to want to rush him in to get him up to speed on whatever their offense is. Off season, you have a little more time to marinate and maybe find like a better spot, a better solution. A lot of things shift and move. Maybe the Dolphins, but they should be looking at other vets. Yeah, they should. Joe Flacco did show it. I was really hoping XL would have had a better showing. Yeah. I will say I was happy with him. I was happy in the I mean, he had like 2 catches, I think. The one though he had for like 35 yards. That was like that and the kick return. Kick return was 30 yards. So he had a really good, I mean, it wasn't a ton of impact. I really wanted him to score a touchdown, but not bad. Never be another guy like Brady, Mahomes, Mr. Checkdown with the 2 high safety. I agree, man. Yeah, Arch is doing it right. Do you think Chuba Hubbard will be a sought-after free agent this offseason? I don't know. I don't know if he'll be sought after. I think if he continues to do what he did today, there will be teams that, will want to pay him. I don't think he's going to get I mean, just like we know, running back market's changed drastically. I think if he got to 1,000 yards, because last year he's pretty close. If he got to close to 1,000 this year, you would feel like a team would want him. I think hopefully we could convince him to stay in Carolina, since we drafted him, like, hey, hang around here. We're gonna have this one-two punch with you and Brooks. But yeah, I don't know contract wise. I mean, a few million cap hit per year is kind of my guess. I don't think it would be like double digits, astronomical, like 10 mil or anything crazy. I mean, I do a lot of the cap stuff in the off season. I haven't really got my head in that direction yet, looking ahead to next year. Pour up for the win. It was nice. Sorry, Dalton's still young-ish. He's not like super old, only 36. Mike Jack looked a lot better. Yeah, he did. So he ended up having the most tackles on the team. Really good day for him. Watched any film? So to be honest, I know that's like the hot thing right now. I have personally, only from what I've seen via highlights and watching him in game. I when all this started, I know last week was like the big push for it with all the quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers, Sanders, Cam Ward. No, I haven't gotten into it. I personally am like, I'm just gonna wait. Like, I'm gonna soak up the football. I'll get into all the non-football crazy draft talk in the off season. I mean, I'll get into it towards the end of the season, but for right now, from there. Burns finally showing signs of life too, because he hasn't looked great. Not necessarily looked great. He just hasn't had a lot of production. I know he got a strip sack fumble today, so not a bad day for him. But they're paying him a bunch of money. So true, man. This is the tried and true Jake Delhomme route. It is. Like, this is the way to do it right here. So smart. If Bryce was smart, he would wait and let Andy do this. Yeah. I agree. I think there's an opportunity for him. Sorry, y'all, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in to this. T Green said, I'm back. I don't know if that means you're back or if it's a reference to Cam Newton when he was back. I'm just giving you hard to. I like it. Analysts are terrible. Rex Ryan went too far. Yeah, that was the one that I saw, and I was like, come on, man. Ricky said, I forgot how good it feels for the Panthers to actually play NFL football and get a win. Andy is the man, and Canales has the locker room. Keep pounding and get some more wins. I agree. It's different. Like, I forgot too, and it wasn't just like, hey, we may win this game. It was like, oh, we dominated that whole thing. Felt weird to do that too. Talking about Rex Ryan. Oh man, they say some stuff. Real difference. Andy steps up in the pocket and fires. Yep. Man, that throw to Adam Thielen where Adam got hurt on the touchdown, though, my gosh. It's crazy. Seahawks guy, but Panthers give us problems. Oh, yeah. Seahawks, man. And yeah, Dave Canales coming over from the Seahawks, of course, too, which I know you know that too. But yeah, there were some years, man, the early, or I guess like mid 2014, 15, 16, 17. It felt like every year it was like a playoff game, even in the regular season. Those were some good matchups. I agree. Icky and Horn. Horn is balling. Horn is healthy. Knock on wood. Icky Aquanu, much, much better than last year. I'm all for it. What's good? Roadmaster said, what's up, Panthers Nation? Low-key rivalry matchup between Panthers and Seahawks. It is. All right, man. It's late for me. It's not really, but actually it is 10:30 East Coast time. So I'm going to sign out. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll have lots of content coming out this week. And until then, let's see. I was on a Navy ship in the Indian Ocean, woke up in the middle of the night. Man, Queen City Chapel. I appreciate your service and for tuning in to this show. and for cheering on the Panthers. Oh, that was back either way, man. I just realized you said that was back when it was in the playoffs. Either way, I still appreciate your service, what you did. So it's awesome. Cool. All right, y'all. I'm signing off for the night. Y'all have a good one.